Suzannah Nichol is the CEO of Build UK. Build UK represents over 40% of the construction industry. So, Suzannah, I wanted to ask you, can you just start by telling me, what sort of key roles that Build UK takes on?
Well, Peter, we bring together the whole industry, that whole supply chain, because we feel it's really important if we're going to solve some big issues, those long-standing issues in the industry, we have to have all the key players around the table. But part of that means you can't blame somebody else. They're around the table, so they have a right of reply. But what we found is if we've got the clients, consultants, tier one contractors and the specialist supply chains, which are represented by almost 40 trade bodies, you actually have a more win-win grown-up conversation about how we're going to address an issue, rather than what sometimes we do as an industry and blame another party that's not there and leave it to them to solve them. So we deal with some pretty big issues. We're on the CLC task force, and hopefully you will have seen the work that we've done over the last year through the pandemic. Some really, it seems like basic stuff, like keeping construction open with the site operating procedures, which we have oversight of. We've just rolled out the Common Assessment Standard, which is the new pre-qualification system for the construction industry. And again, every party has a role to play, whether you require it or whether you complete it or whether you're an assessment body that actually undertakes those assessments. And one of the other things that I'm particularly proud of is the benchmarking table on payment terms. And since we've been shining a light on those particular payment terms through our benchmarking table, which is over the last 2 years, we've improved payment practices, payment terms, more in those 2 years than we ever did before with campaigning. So we're here to do some big lifting. We're here to fundamentally transform the way that construction delivers its projects for the benefit both of its clients, but also the supply chain. And ultimately, we as citizens and users of all those buildings, that infrastructure, benefit.
But you've also, of course, been helping your members to get to grips with Brexit. So what impacts are you seeing that having left the EU, what sort of impacts are they having on labour, materials, supply, costs? What do you?
It's interesting, isn't it? So all last year, at the beginning of last year, Brexit was the one thing we're all concerned about. Then coronavirus hit. And that was it, took Brexit completely off the table. And even in January this year, I don't think we received one query about Brexit. Perhaps this time last year was one of the things we were wishing for, was no more talk about Brexit. Two key issues really, particularly for our members, and that's products and people. So products is all about how we bring materials in. Many of the materials are manufactured and used in the UK, but the bits we do bring in from the EU, we import about 25% of materials and products, and about 15% of those come from the EU. Is the red tape bringing it in through Brexit? Interestingly, more of a squeeze at the moment are a whole load of global supply chain issues. Big demand since the pandemic, lack of supply, particularly on things like timber and petroleum used for plastic-based products. And a couple of months ago, all the containers were in the wrong place, which was adding as well. So products is one part of it. The other real challenge from Brexit is people. And we are counting down the clock to the 1st of July, when we will not be able to easily bring EU workers into the country. With a sponsorship license, with a visa required for the individual, it's going to get awfully complicated. So at the moment, it's about getting people settled status or pre-settled status if they're eligible for it. And we're looking at how we can help our members work through what is quite a complex, costly and lengthy system to get through the points-based immigration scheme.
So in the light of those comments, your role in training is particularly important. So are you happy with the number of younger people who are being attracted into the industry? I mean, Mark Farmer, in his review back in 2016, he painted a picture of an aging workforce. Has that changed?
We do have an aging workforce. I believe our challenge is not in attracting people. People want to join our industry. We have 40,000 young people on construction courses at this moment in time. Only 20% of them end up in a construction job. So they've made a choice to join construction. They're on a recognised course, qualification or programme, yet they drop off and don't come into the industry. So we're missing out on that huge potential workforce. The challenge we have is that journey from I'm interested in joining construction to an actual job, and that firmly rests with us as the industry, offering those opportunities. Interesting, I've had two young women actually come and say they've had a taster session of architecture. I actually found one of those places for them with an architect. They now want to join as an apprentice. I cannot find anybody offering an apprenticeship for architects or architects technicians, whatever the particular career they're looking for. I can't find one. And I'm in the industry. So our challenge is not getting people to join us. I'm fairly confident we can do that with bells on. It's how we get them in through that front door of the industry.
Yes, I will. Do let me, after this, do let me know some details and we'll see if we can help find somebody who can provide an apprenticeship.
That would be awesome.
So how do you see the next couple of years as we emerge from the pandemic? Because there does seem to be a huge amount for the industry to get its teeth into, to build back better, meet sustainability targets, improve energy performance of existing homes, as well as, massively increasing the manufacture of housing.
It's great that the sector has received recognition. We haven't stopped over the last 12 months, so construction has become one of the heroes of the pandemic. But what that also means is then that responsibility and that pressure to be responsible for everything. So ultimately our responsibility is to build really good infrastructure that is sustainable, that works efficiently and works effectively, and also to try and provide those jobs of people to build that infrastructure. But that requires quite a lot of systematic change. It also requires paying for. So there is a huge opportunity for construction. The growth is heading in the right direction. People are busy. There is some nervousness about that pipeline, about that future work coming through and projects drifting to the right. Some of that, I believe, is around confidence of investment over the last year. We're still coming out of the pandemic. People are still waiting for Brexit to settle down. So I think there is that nervousness about, is the work that people are saying is coming is actually going to turn from talk into projects? And it's not just about boots on the ground. We have to look at construction in a much smarter way and do much more upfront planning, bring that supply chain on early so we find those innovative solutions. We're looking at better answers so we don't just do what we've always done, bringing them on early and doing much more. We can do much more with virtual reality. We can do much more with planning. We've all learned to work much smarter through this medium that we're on at the moment. So the future is bright. We've got to ensure that it's not a race to the bottom, and we've got to ensure that those good value contracts come through as intended so that contractors and the whole supply chain can manage that workflow and they're at the top of their game, giving their all to the right contracts, not racing around trying to win work and underbid.
Great, thank you very much. Well, Suzannah Nichol, thank you very much for your insights, and I'll get back to you soon about apprenticeships. Thank you.
That would be marvellous. Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you for having me.